He's wearing it like a beer hat on his head with like tubes going into his mouth.
It's literally like a beer hat you'd wear at a baseball game.
Which I kind of appreciate because like we've painted Rhinox as this like beer drinking trucker for the past like few months now.
Yeah, I'm feeling fine. Back to normal self.
I could drink 6 more of these. Still get up and go to work tomorrow like it ain't no thing.
I do every other day.
Too much Energon.
Attention Maximals! Welcome back to Too Much Energon, the weekly podcast where we review every episode of Beast Wars ever in production order, starting from the beginning. I'm one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I am your other host, NeoCal.
And this week on Too Much Energon, we are reviewing the 22nd episode in production order, which was also the 22nd episode in US broadcast order, The Low Road.
No, not that.
Because the broadcast order definitely matters for this one.
Well, on that note, it originally aired on February 10th, 1997. One thing I want to point out with the whole production order versus broadcast order thing, I am happy to say that from here on out, for the remaining like 30 episodes of this series, the production order and the original broadcast order are one and the same.
Yeah, we can save our breath.
So going forward, we don't really need to preface the whole production order thing.
Mm-hmm. If anyone listening feels like we're a little bit OCD about that, well, one, yes. But two, there have been a few episodes where it's like absolutely perplexing as fuck if you just watch it in broadcast order.
Yeah. And like I've seen even like other people who do like podcasts or like reviews or like things relating to Beast Wars in some way, and they always just go by they always just go by the broadcast order.
They do. I've actually peeped my head in, not listened to like a full podcast, but just to see if they like address it. And nope. No mysterious like fire ants flying through the air.
It's that inner Star Trek fan in me. We Star Trek fans are very familiar with the difference between production and broadcast order.
Oh, I was unaware.
Yeah, it's a pretty big thing for the original series and at least Next Generation. I don't know about Deep Space Nine or Voyager or any of those other ones.
I'm not too familiar with Star Trek, except for the original series and Voyager, which is a weird combo. I know.
That is, yeah. Although I like Voyager a lot more than most.
I stay out of like Trekkie arguments, but like I actually do really like Voyager.
Yeah,
but holy shit, do other people not? And I just like keep quiet about my like silent voice in the corner being like, "Oh, I actually think it's pretty good."
Yeah,
like, one thing I never tell people is that I don't like Deep Space Nine, but I do like Voyager.
I was just gonna say there tend to be like two camps of people. People who Star Trek fans who really like Deep Space Nine and hate and hate Voyager, or Star Trek fans who like Voyager and don't like Deep Space Nine.
Weird.
I am one of the ones who likes Voyager and doesn't like Deep Space Nine.
Oh wow, you're the only other person.
I think
that says that.
I think Deep Space Nine is incredibly boring.
Yeah, it's boring.
I've watched so many episodes of it.
I don't want to care how like a peaceful like station like operates on the day to day. Like, the characters sell it. I understand that. I love the Ferengi on the show. But, like, holy shit, is the show boring.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's his name? Like, Otto? Boy, like, man, when it's an Otto episode, you're like, fucking hell. It's never been able to make it through it.
I really like the actor who played Odo, but yeah.
Me too.
I'm with you on the whole character bit.
Yeah, I like the actor too. But anyway, speaking of
characters and Odos.
I didn't even say his name right. Oh wow, these are some like fast growing ass vines. So the low road. The low road involves coffee beans? Like some invasive weed that grows in the canyons. Can't help but to notice that while we're like the camera's panning, there's no forest or jungle near the axolot now.
It's just all these vines that we've never seen before.
Well, it showed them growing really fast. So, okay, maybe it's an invasive species, and because there's no top foliage, right? It's free to like grow. But they're in a canyon. There's no like soil. But remember the episode? My mind is blanking here. But the hunt. There was like a jungle, like a few like velociraptor strides away from the base. They literally left the base and ran straight into the jungle. And I remember you and I talking about that and being like, "Where did this forest come from?" What?
That was last week's episode.
Can't even remember what it's called.
Call of the Wild.
Call of the Wild. Yeah, it was like literally right outside the elevator.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, that forest is not there, but Rat Trap and Dinobot are, with machetes, are hacking through.
Not just any machetes. These are the same swords that Optimus uses.
Is that Optimus's like scimitar?
Yeah.
Oh, actually? Huh.
Yep. And Dinobot is using his whirly tail in probably
seems more efficient.
The most useful way I've ever seen him actually use this thing.
It's never been useful. These things grow so fast, they like grow in front of you. Huh.
So yeah, Rat Trap is bitching about how he signed on to this mission as an explorer and an adventurer, and since when does that include garbage duty? And Dinobot's basically just like, yeah, these weeds could provide cover for an ambush.
And he calls them beans.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought he said these weeds, but...
Oh, that's just what the closed caption says. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Who cares? And yeah, Dinobot's like...
He really wants to kill these plants because it's perfect cover for a Predacon ambush.
Yeah. And Rat Trap, we get a close-up shot of Dinobot. Literally,
yeah, he's
Dinobot.
like, we must be on alert for sneak attacks. And for some reason, he buries his tail, like copter, into the dirt and bends over, and we get dead ass.
Yeah.
We literally get like a shiny chrome round butt and what seems to be a gooch. Just his fucking junk hanging between his legs.
Oh man!
Right? It's kind of what it looks like.
So Rat Trap laughs and gets one of these like wild beans, and is all like takes Optimus's sword and hits it uses it as a golf club.
Yeah.
And launch one of these beans right into Dino's butt.
And knocks him over and gets him angry.
In a very comical manner, Dinobot like flies forward.
Yeah, like with surprising amount of force.
Yeah.
And he turns around and he yells at him and calls him a vermin, and then like tackles him. And there's like a comical moment where the camera shakes and like vegetation is flying everywhere.
Yes.
So those two crazy kids are scrapping, added again.
Yep, this is the first of many slapstick moments in this episode.
Yes, that's the unifying theme.
Yes. Not to get too far ahead, listeners, but this episode feels very Looney Tunes.
For many different reasons. So much to Dinobot's dismay and suspicion, there are actually Predacons approaching. Cheetor notices them from inside the base.
Yeah.
And he's going to activate what's the AI called again? Sentinel. Yeah. He's going to activate Sentinel, and Optimus stops him and says, "No, Dinobot and Rat Trap are still outside." But Sentinel is programmed to recognize the Maximals.
Yeah, Sentinel has a friend or foe identifier. Like we established that in the episode A Better Mousetrap that introduced Sentinel because that part got taken offline.
Yeah, and before that, they would have to or was it after it? Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Remember when they would have to deactivate it so that Optimus could fly away?
That was before.
That was before they fixed Sentinel.
Yeah.
Right? And there's been lots of times where the guns have been firing at the Predacons and not them. So like this is perplexing. Another one of those things where it's like, did the writers even watch previous episodes? Right? Because why should it matter if Dinobot and Rat Trap are outside?
Yeah, well, this episode was written by Bob Forward, who is one of the creators of the show.
Oh.
And he's actually written some good episodes. Like he wrote Beast Wars Part 1 and 2. He wrote Fallen Comrades, the episode that introduced Tigatron. He wrote The Trigger Part 1 and 2 with the Flying Island.
Yeah. Those have been great.
But he also wrote Call of the Wild, which we poked so many holes through.
Which we ripped apart. Yeah. Well, apparently Sentinel has no friend or foe recognition. So Rhinox says
maybe he was stoned when he watched this, or when he wrote this episode.
That must be the case. And he had gas and the munchies. And he's like, it would be great if Rhinox had gas.
Oh God.
But speaking of Rhinox, he yells, "Rat Trap, Code 1 emergency, return to base."
And Dinobot has his drill rapier to Rat Trap's throat, and Rat Trap's like, I got problems of my own.
Right.
And so Rhinox is like, he gets out his Gatling gun and is all like, I'm going out there.
Yeah, and we see the flyers.
Yeah, immediately we cut to just like hype rock music with the three flyers, Predacon flyers in robot form.
Yeah, there are three now. Inferno just screaming, firing his gun.
Yeah, flying toward the camera. Inferno's just screaming like, "Wow, wow, wow."
Why does he sound like Arnold when he do?
Yes.
Yes. And Dinobot's surprised, and he yells that they're under attack.
And Rat Trap's basically just like, no shit, Sherlock.
No shit, dumbass.
Rhinox comes down a different elevator platform.
So we get to see behind. So presumably this is in the back of the ship. You know how we always theorized there must be like a cargo entry?
We've been wondering about this for months.
Like, actually.
Like yeah.
For how many months? Like, since the beginning of this.
We've been doing this show for like just about 6 months now, so.
And we've been like, where did he go? Where did this person come from? Where did he run off to? This is it.
How did they get in the
fucking
base?
episodes in, this is the first time we see the anterior of the goddamn fucking ship, and just like, because I didn't remember this episode earlier, just like we had theorized, there's some sort of cargo bay entrance.
Yeah.
And here it is.
Finally, we can
You'd
close.
think they would show the back of the ship every once in a while, but this is actually the first time. The Bean episode.
We can close the book on this one.
Theory confirmed. We get a badass Rhinox like shooting his gats.
Yeah, and Rat Trap's like, oh, let's get inside or whatever, and Dinobot's like, unlike you, cheese eater, I do not run from battle. And I'm like, hey man, cheese is good.
Right?
Cheese is delicious.
Also, like,
I just
Rat
ate
Trap is
tacos for
tactical.
dinner with a lot of cheddar cheese on them.
There you go.
Anyway.
Yeah, and he picks up Rat Trap by the head, like, very easily. Like, he weighs nothing.
Yeah.
And Rat Trap's like, who you call? Or hey, are you calling me a chicken, Chopper Face?
Like he's fucking Marty McFly or something.
And he takes a swing at Dinobot, and he spins around like a nerd from like an 80s movie trying to punch a bully. And the bully like has his hand on his forehead, and you know how like the nerd can't like reach him and he just swings at nothing?
Yeah.
It's like that, but he spins around in a circle.
Yeah, his head remains stationary, but his body starts like spinning around. It's very, very more slapstick.
Yeah.
This is like the most slapstick episode in this entire series.
Well, yeah, you oughta. Yeah, and we cut to Rhinox, who's trying to cover them so they could retreat, and he literally has he's sitting in like a giant mound of empty shells.
Yeah, it's
from
like
his guns.
It's like a comically like over the top amount of shells.
Part of me, I didn't think this the first time when I watched it earlier today. Where the fuck is everyone else?
I thought I watched this episode 3 days ago, and that was one of my first thoughts. I'm like, why is Optimus and Cheetor just hanging out in the fucking base? Like, why aren't they doing something? At least one of them.
Yeah, and he's like, I'll cover him so we can get Sentinel online. There's 3 flyers. Go kick their fucking ass.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like, good job, guys.
Optimus, was Air Razor in there? Even if he wasn't, like, go out there. Screw Sentinel. Like, just go shoot them. You've done it before. I don't get the problem now.
Yeah, like, get in a phone booth, put on your tights, and Super Ape out of that goddamn base.
But like we get to see, it's not just the flyers creeping through the vines that now surround the. By the way, the Axelon looks fucking huge from this angle. I mean, it's a fucking spaceship, but
yeah, it's
Tarantulas creeping through the vines like a creepy motherfucker.
The Axelon's got a booty.
It do. You know who else got a booty? Tarantulas in his beast form.
Don't remind me.
And he's got a broad chest when he terrorizes. And he has another wacky invention that I'm sure they will use from this episode onwards.
Yep.
And he snipes Rhinox.
Yeah, he shoots this like I don't know. It almost kind of looks like a mechanical version of a face hugger from Aliens.
Almost looks like diagrams of a virus.
Yeah. So he shoots He shoots that toward Rhino. It actually like hits Dinobot, but instead of like sticking into him,
he kind of dodges it. It deflects off of him, right?
Yeah. And then it hits Rhinox, latches its like little legs, like latch on to Rhinox's head, and it injects something into his mouth.
Right down his fucking throat.
Yeah.
Like a face hugger.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
mechanical face hugger.
it looks like he's got a face hugger on his face. And Dinobot fucking eye lasers tarantulas.
Like, instead of one constant beam, he shoots like pulses out of his eyes at him like 5 times, like juggling him.
Yeah, like burst
Weird.
fire, and tarantulas like bounces further back with each shot.
Yeah,
again.
Going, ooh, ah, ooh, ee, ah.
Again, a very slapsticky manner.
I don't understand why they don't like capture tarantulas and just like end him. Like, he's bad for both sides. Just like, don't like put him in maximal prison. Don't like, take him offline or scrap him. Like fucking kill him. Please.
Yeah.
Because, man, he has caused a lot of problems. But nope.
And he will continue causing problems, I assure you.
Oh, great.
So Sentinel goes online and then starts shooting at Pterosaur, and Pterosaur is just like, let's go, guys. So they fuck off. Mission accomplished. So that was the plan here, was to infect it, like shoot this thing at a maximal.
Yeah. I guess, to see what it does or to take one of them out.
Yeah,
but I feel like just shooting one of them in the head would do the same thing, but better. No?
Well, shooting one of them in the head, like, as we've seen, like, these guys can recover from pretty much anything in a CR chamber.
Then they can come apart.
Except this virus, apparently.
Oh, good point. So, like, the Cyber Bee, the CR chamber didn't help, right?
Yeah.
And with this, the CR chamber won't help. But if you scrap something and you get them into a Healy tank quick enough, you can bring them back. Presumably. Right. We've never seen that happen to a Maximal, but we see it happen to the Pred heads all the time.
Yeah. So Optimus is at the dinner table, and he asks Sentinel, I guess. He asks their computer. He's like, oh, what's wrong with Rhinox? And it's all like, Unit Rhinox has been, which I found funny. I don't know why, but it's like the computer just refers to him as Unit Rhinox.
Unit Rhinox. Also, maybe it's just me. Is this a different voice? This doesn't sound like Sentinel. I could be crazy.
Maybe.
But yeah, it tells Optimus Rhinox has been infected with an Energon discharge virus of unknown type.
Of unknown type. So are there other Energon types of Energon discharge viruses then?
I guess so.
So
maybe the Cyber Bees one?
Well, the Cyber Bee virus that what was supposed to be the coward virus. Yeah, and it also didn't cause like Energon discharging.
Right. But yeah, Sentinel tells them if it continues, it'll discharge Energon reserves.
Yeah.
Until depleted. So, and it kind of has, the dinner table has like a schematic of Rhinox's body. And it looks like it'll spread from like his heart or stomach. And it makes it look like, to me, it'll spread. It kind of looks like they have a biological circulatory system.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or maybe it's some sort of like transformer nervous system.
Yeah.
It's different from ours, right? Instead of traveling along their back and out their limbs, it starts in their center and just goes outwards.
Right.
Who knows? It's some sort of system.
They are advanced machines.
Yeah, and they do have biological, or at least biological similarities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Optimus asks him, "Well, can you cure it?" And the CR chamber falls apart after a giant sneeze. And Optimus is like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
So the answer is no.
Yeah, and Rhinox like rubs his nose like he's got a
Oh
cold.
my god, the sneeze. He rubs his nose and goes, ugh, and he like suddenly like sneezes and he shoots a goddamn laser out of his mouth. And
Yeah.
it flies across the bridge and busts through the hull and just happens to hit Pterosaur as he's flying away in beast mode.
Yeah, hits him right in the tail.
Yeah, and he goes away going, I. Literally.
And, and Rhinox continues hiccuping these bursts of Energon, and Optimus like ducks and takes cover, and Dinobot tries to do the same thing, and then like comically like scurries across the floor on his hands and knees,
like an insect or like a rodent, like trying to gain traction.
Yeah,
it's like comically like starts scurrying away, and then he shuffles away.
Yeah.
When Rhinox covers one of his sneezes, he just shoots 2 smaller blasts from presumably where his ears are.
Yeah. And then
get him out of the ship.
And then he hiccups again and blasts Energon at the dinner table, blowing it away. And we see like all of the Maximals like huddled underneath of it.
Yeah, the dinner table flies off because, as we've learned, it's easier to make it so that the dinner table comes off rather than them having to repair it all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're all huddled there, and it's kind of hilarious. Like, because Optimus and Dinobot are so big. They're taking up like 90% of it. Cheetor wasn't even being covered by it.
You know, that'd be hilarious if they like consciously decided they're like this table is an expensive piece of hardware and it's going to get flipped on numerous occasions. So instead of like actually mounting it to the floor, we're just going to make it so it's easy for it to go flying away.
It's removable.
In times of need.
Well, we've seen it has latches.
Yeah, that's true. Cheetor has the bright idea to go to beast mode, which Rhinox does, and then he's like, "Oh, that's better." And Rat Trap's like, "Yeah, good thinking, Spots." And then Rhinox sneezes again and like floats like
what the fuck was
like
that?
all of his legs like go like straight out, and he like floats for a brief moment in midair as he sneezes. And
Looney Tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And blows the glass off of one of the elevator platforms.
And then Dinobot comes into frame and says, Gesundheit. And I'm like, okay, that finished off the scene being Looney Tunes.
Yeah. And Optimus is like knelt over with some like kind of doohickey that's like has like this red like beeping light on the end of it, and he's like scanning Rhinox's torso.
Rhinox has used that before in early episodes.
Oh,
we made fun. Yeah, we were like, oh, it's like a tricorder.
Right, yeah.
And he was using it to like scan the golden seed thing, the pod.
Oh yeah. The only one the only one I can think of right now is the one that he was using when he turned evil. That weird like hand thing that like had this like wristband, but it like completely clipped through his Rhino.
Oh, it's probably the same thing, the same model. They, on their storyboard, they're probably just like insert Doomahickey here because they've used this multiple times.
Well, that one was different looking than this.
Oh, was it?
Oh yeah. And he used that one in particular in another episode too. After that, I just can't remember what it is, which one it was.
I like that Optimus is using this, and he's like, if we don't find, what does he say? His power cells are fading fast. If we don't find a counter virus soon. Counter virus? What the fuck do I know? Yeah, counter virus. He'll destroy the base and himself.
Yep.
And that dramatic like dun 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 before it cuts to commercial cues in. And when it comes back from commercial, we see the posterior view of the Axelon, or maybe it's a side view, right, where its big butt was hanging out, and there's literally only vines right beside the Axelon.
The
Where the fuck did these beans come from?
the surrounding scenery around the Axelon
Is
is
dreary.
ever changing.
Sometimes there's beans, sometimes there's an entire jungle, other times it's a barren canyon. Most times it's a barren canyon.
It's whatever Gotham needs it to be.
In this case, it's vines.
Yep. So
Rat Trap and Dinobot.
Yeah, Rat Trap and Dinobot are on a cliffside, and Rat Trap's basically just like, you sure Tarantulas is around here or whatever? And Dinobot is basically like, yeah, I fucked him up real good. He couldn't have gotten too far.
Yeah, and he probably has a counter virus. I've never heard anything called is a vaccine a counter virus? Well, vaccines don't help you if you're already sick. So counter virus counters the virus. I guess.
I don't even think like they like it's a sci-fi trope of like, you know, like counter viruses and antiviruses. Like here's the antivirus for the T virus. We'll save you. But like viruses can't really be cured without killing a patient. That's why like all of the like horrible viruses in the world, like it's why humanity has never been able to cure any of them. So I don't even think that I think the concept of an antivirus period is like pure science fiction.
It's a good point, because the closest thing to counter viruses are vaccines, which prep the body to beat the said virus if it encounters it.
Yeah. But if you already have it, it's not going to cure you.
Probably make things worse.
Probably.
Because it either has like a weakened strain of it, or partially like physically like incomplete, like wounded kind of parts of the virus that have been like destabilized in a much lower like dose than you might receive from, say, somebody with the virus.
Right.
So the idea, yeah, that's a good point. I've never thought about that before.
I've never thought of it until just now.
That's actually a good point. That's a good trope, that you can't like slam, like there's anti-venom. Like I understand that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's, what's the word? Conflagrate? I think they're like
conflating.
Yeah. I think they're mixing, like, because if it's like, oh, I got bit by a rattlesnake, if the venom kind of like reaches my heart, like it's bad news bears. There is anti-venom for things. They can neutralize venoms. And so whenever I see this kind of trope in sci-fi, I just try to think of it like a poison or a venom, which you can take things to help heal or remedy a poison. You can neutralize like venoms, right? But yeah, like you said, the virus thing. Once it's in you, it's in you.
Looky here now, Jim Bob. That there rattlesnake done bit me on the keister. You're gonna have to suck out the poison.
You probably already know this, but venom is the when an animal like injects something with venom, and poison is something that it has as a defense mechanism on their skin or something like that, right? So a tree dart frog, right? That's poisonous, but a rattlesnake is venomous. See, we learn things here, like, folks. It's science. Yeah, so something that bites you and delivers a toxin is venomous. And the easiest way I remember in school was if you eat it and you get sick, it's poisonous. If it tries to eat you and you get sick, it's venomous.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good distinction.
Yeah. I
Wonder
just
if there-
always remember
wonder
things
if
that
there were-
stab you have venom.
wonder if there were any tree frog Beast Wars toys.
Well, on the episode, I think it was the episode introducing Inferno. I made the joke. I was like, and we slowly pan over like a poisonous looking frog. Ooh, is that like and then we briefly talked about the show likes to showcase the animal that's going to be introduced, right? And I was like, oh, maybe we have a poisonous frog Predacon coming up. And then no, it's ants.
Oh, there was a Beast
Oh.
Wars toy called Spitor.
What the fuck?
He was a toad.
Oh, a toad.
Yeah.
Toad Spitor?
Yep.
Beast Wars. Let me see this bad boy. Yeah, I spelled it right on my first try. I was like, how would that sound? Spittor, right? Oh, he looks kind of cool actually. He's got like an axe or a club. Oh, his robot form looks janky as fuck though, but whatever. His beast mode looks fucking savage. Huh.
Yeah, there were plenty of toys in the Beast Wars, and anyone listening to this, I'm sure, is fully aware of this. But there were plenty of Beast Wars toys of characters that never made it into the show.
See, now he looks poisonous.
A lot of them ended up being in the Japanese Beast Wars cartoon.
There's a Japanese Beast Wars?
Yeah.
Huh.
There's a couple, actually. There was one called Beast Wars 2 and another called Beast Wars Neo.
Oh.
They've never been officially subtitled. You can find some fan-subbed versions of them. I've watched a couple of them. They're incredibly dumb, but they might be fun to do, like... they might be fun to just, like, watch and commentate on.
It was called Beast Wars Neo?
Yeah, Beast Wars Neo and Beast Wars 2.
Wow. That is an anime, I tell you what.
Yeah.
Huh,
Yeah.
It might be fun to do like a bonus thing on that.
Yeah, like there was a theatrical Beast Wars Neo movie as well that I think's only about an hour long.
What the
fuck? It'd be fun to like watch that like without even subtitles or anything and just like commentate on it.
Speculate about what's going on the show.
Yeah.
As if we know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
that could work.
So
maybe stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Listeners, we're brainstorming about where to take this podcast. Like on the fly.
That was one hell of a segue, but I mean, hey, maybe you learned something about how viruses work, or maybe you learned the difference between poisonous and venomous, or maybe, like me, you just learned that there is a Japanese Beast Wars.
Yeah, no shortage of Beast Wars related material to cover on this podcast.
Yeah, apparently. I wondered why Optimus sent Dinobot and Rat Trap.
Yeah, I don't know,
because they immediately start fighting.
Yeah, they're just bickering, and
Dinobot's like, "Are you suggesting it's somehow my responsibility for getting Rhinox sick?" And I'm like, "Well, kind of."
The Rat Trap didn't need to push his buttons, and Dinobot also didn't need to react that way. But as we know, Dinobot is prone to just like lashing out, especially when it's Rat Trap. So
yeah, and Dinobot like takes it to another level outside of like playful school ground like shenanigans. He often like straight up attacks Rat Trap.
It's kind of hard to say, really, because like Yeah, Rat Trap did start it, but Dinobot like arguably overreacted.
They're both shitheads.
Yeah.
Honestly, and if they had just gone inside and activated Sentinel, nobody would have gotten shot.
Yeah.
So
we're not the only ones wondering why Optimus sent them off together.
Yeah, because Cheetor like straight up asks Optimus that.
He's like, "Hey Optimus, you sure it was a good idea sending those two out together?" And Optimus is like, "To be honest, no."
Yeah, so
they'll either learn to work together or destroy each other. And right now, I don't really care which. But he should, though, because if they destroy one another, like, they're not going to potentially get this quote-unquote counter virus from Tarantulas.
I'm like, that's a weird time to like force people to get along. Like
Yeah.
maybe like teach them like new values on a day where someone isn't dying.
Yeah. So
also, yeah, like you said, he should care which. If they die, then he has 3 dead Maximals.
Yeah.
Because then Rhinox is screwed.
And then it's just him and Cheetor living at the base alone.
And Airazor and Tigatron totally hanging out as platonic friends somewhere off outside of the ship.
Yeah.
In the wild.
So Dinobot is sniffing the air, and he's all like, vile corruption. A whiff of festering putrefaction. And I'm like, so now he's like a scent connoisseur? Like, what?
Yeah, since when?
Like, he's like a connoisseur of scents? Like, when did this happen?
That's an interesting word, connoisseur. As if he's like wine tasting.
I don't know. Like, I don't know what you would actually like. I just think of people who are like wine connoisseurs, and you'll see them. They'll like smell the glass and like comment on the ingredients and like the fragrances they're picking up,
and then swish it around in their mouth and talk about the tannins and
yeah. So when did Dinobot become such a
Predacon? The cultured Predacon connoisseur. Yeah, it's weird. Since when has he ever been able to track people with smells? I thought that was like Rat Trap's and Tigatron's deal.
Yeah, and Rat Trap is like, so I had a Limburger sandwich for lunch. Rat. And immediately here, I'm like, wait, they have cheese on Cybertron? Like, not Cybertronians eat cheese?
Specifically Limburger.
Yes.
And not only that, they've been on the planet for a long time. How did he make cheese? I understand he goes through garbage, he's a rat, but like, there are no humans eating cheese. What, are they straining their own cheese? Are they going out and getting milk from animals? Like, I have so many questions.
You know, I would actually watch that episode.
I want an episode where they're just like living off the land and like farming.
Yeah, they're just farming and like, you know, milking
like what animal made
and,
that cheese?
And like planting crops.
Well, I mean, they got their beans in this episode, so we got that. And there's evidence of cheese because they've mentioned cheese 3 times. Also, Limburger specifically. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a fancy cheese.
I want to know. I want to see their food processing and making, like capabilities in the ship.
Yeah,
I want to see him like straining like the fucking cream and making this cheese. God damn it!
You know, it could be explained easily if they had like Star Trek replicators, but they don't.
Or like rationed supplies that are like dry frozen, right? Like vacuum sealed. But it's never shown them eating.
But like before they came to this planet, though, did they even need to eat? Oh. I don't think they would have because they didn't
eating
have
just
any
supplements their beast mode.
Yeah, they didn't have organic compounds back then.
Wait, that's a good point. There are no organics on Cybertron.
Yeah,
or are there? No, it's a Transformer planet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
nothing's stopping them from growing stuff. Like, wait, there's no atmosphere. Wait.
Yeah. Well, that the follow-up series to this Beast Machines actually does cover all of that. So
Oh, for real?
yeah,
Huh.
maybe
Okay.
maybe we'll talk about that show eventually sometime too.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I have never seen any of that, so.
Yeah, you find out in Beast Machines. It's a show a lot of people don't really like, but
But it gives you lots of info.
yeah, it fills
Lots of
in
questions answered.
Yeah, it fills in a lot of lore, like a bunch of questions that like we've even had thus far in this show. Like some of it even gets addressed in Beast Machines.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Do we encounter Starscream flying through the void?
Sadly, no, but we do see Dinobot spot Tarantulas, and Tarantulas like comically like runs on the spot in like floating in the air and then zips away again like Looney Tunes. And
Horrifying. Wow, that is so. There's even sound effects.
yeah,
Like the whoop, 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 whoop.
yep.
I like how they're looking for him, and he's literally like hiding behind a rock.
That is like the number one move of anyone in this show.
Fair
Hide behind
enough. Fair
rocks.
enough. Yeah, but like, why poke your head out? He was in like plain sight. That is so weird. This is like wrestling like drama. Like, do you know what I mean? He's like, and I spot something over there. That's so weird. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Oh,
And then
that's
they go
what I think
after
of it.
him.
Yeah, they chase after him and then transform and leap off of a cliff. And they're like, shit, where'd he go? And then the ground opens up and swallows them whole. And they fall onto a slide, a corkscrew
What
slide.
the fuck? Yes, they do.
Yeah, and they go sliding down. Rat Trap is on Dinobot's shoulders.
There's a rock.
Yep, there's a rock and
boulder.
Perhaps they can hide behind it when it finally lands. But yes, it's chasing them in a very like kind of Raiders of the Lost Ark sort of way.
When they land, Tarantulas jumps out and he's like, "Playground's closed, minimals." And I'm like, "Huh, huh."
Minimals because they're maximals.
Haven't heard that yet.
And then Rat Trap is like, well, this is the pits. I don't know why, but it just made me like it cracked me up when he said that.
Because he turns to Dinobot and he's just like, huh, this is the pits. It literally and like metaphorically.
Yeah. He just delivers it in like such a matter-of-fact way.
And I guess the giant rock coming down the slide was not part of Tarantulas' trap, because when the rock comes, it hits Tarantulas.
Yep.
I thought that was part of his trap.
I guess not. Or he didn't realize that it had been engaged.
Or yeah. And we get to see those like flashlight bugs again. The ones that the Predacons use to light up like tunnels.
Yep.
And the boulder, which is like, this is always weird. How come in cartoons, when people get hit by a boulder, they get like stuck to it and continue rolling with it? Because that's what happens here before it smashes into the wall.
Maybe because that's more comical than what would actually happen, which is horrifying.
Just it like smashing into you and killing you.
Yeah, just like crushing you into like an explosion of like blood and guts.
Into Energon and metal.
Yeah.
And there's like a double whammy. Like Rat Trap is like, ooh, that's gotta hoit. And then the rock starts cracking. And It shows that, and then it like breaks apart. Oddly frail rock. Um, and it shows Tarantulas like stuck to the wall, like more comical like before. And there's a sound like him like plopping, like bloop, and coming off the wall, and there's like an outline of his body like that was embedded in the rock. Lots of Looney Tunes.
Yeah. So we're back at the Axelon, and the camera is like kind of moving toward the rear hatch, which is still open for some bewildering reason, and also the robot face hugger that infected Rhinox is still just laying on the ground, like leaking out. And like my thought was like, you want to cure this, like you want to try and cure, right? Like pick that shit up and like analyze the virus.
Like, yeah, they just left it there.
Yeah, like if you want to figure out like some way of like helping him, like try and at least analyze the actual like virus that infected him. Like, come on, guys. Yeah, you guys are scientists.
Not only are they scientists, that's a good fucking point. Whereas the Predacons aren't. But do you know who's done more science on the show? The fucking Predacons, which are all soldiers.
Yeah, even Scorponok has a lab.
Jesus Christ, Scorponok! Scorponok has a lab. Megatron will reward you with a lab and an Xbox. But yeah, they're banking on stealing the counter virus from the Preds. What if they just didn't fucking have one? Do you know what I mean? Like, so many of the Maximals, like, saving themselves is relying on the Predacons having some sort of, like, cure.
Yeah.
But if they just had smashed their cure, the Predacons would have won. What? There's the Cyber Bee episode. They would have won that if they just smashed the anti-venom.
Yep.
And they would have won this. But there's a good reason why. We'll get to that part later. So something's attached to Rhinox's feet, and I'm confused.
Jumper cables.
Straight up jumper cables, huh?
Jumper cables hooked into
keeping him alive?
Yeah, it's hooked up to the ship, and it's drawing power from the ship's reserves to keep Rhinox's Energon levels up, because he is expelling them every time he burps, sneezes, farts, whatever. Yeah,
so it's kind of like people die from dehydration if they have like diarrhea or they're puking a lot or something.
Yeah, I guess, essentially this is kind of like hooking an IV up to him.
Yeah, but Transformer version. Yeah. They're just fucking jumper cables.
Yeah, like listeners, like if you're watching the episode, like it's literally just jumper cables. The thing you hook up to your car battery. Oh man.
There's like a negative and positive line connected to his feet, his rhino feet.
And Cheetor mentions that the base's power is down 20%, and that Rhinox's Energon blasts are draining us dry. And Optimus is like, they aren't doing much for the decor either.
Oh.
I do have, like, one thing I will say, I this episode has a lot of good lines in it. Like, I like the dialogue in this episode.
Agreed. Oh, there's like rocket launchers and machine guns next to Optimus. What the heck am I looking at?
You know what those are? Those are the signal relays that Cheetor had in equal measures when he
was like planting into the ground.
Yeah, and he accidentally created a transporter. That's what
those are. I like that continuity. I like that. You know what I mean? Like they still have that equipment.
Yeah.
Because presumably those are still in place, and they're using them for longer distance communication.
Yeah.
Maybe? Or did they all get blown up?
Well, all of those ones got blown up, but clearly they have more.
Yeah, they could have went out and put more out.
Yeah.
And the console beeps, and there's a topographical map of the area around the Exelon.
Yeah.
And Cheetor's like, no, don't need any more bummer news, man, but those two are showing a decided absence from my scanner screens.
Bummer news.
Bummer news. And Optimus is like, and he literally face palms, and he's like, better call Tigatron and Air Razor. And I'm like, Optimus,
Why wasn't that your first play?
why didn't you fucking do that like hours ago? Bro, please. What, you thought you had everything under control with just you and Cheetor hanging out at the base and the other two looking for tarantulas? Jesus. Yeah. Maybe call, I don't know, one of you that can fly to help look for something? Although tarantulas is often underground, so... Which apparently Dinobot's nose is... He'll just follow his nose wherever it goes.
Perhaps it will lead him to Fruit Loops one day.
Are toucans known for having really good senses of smell, or is it just because their beaks are very big?
Probably because his beak is just really big, but I actually don't know. So Rhinox sneezes up into the air, and Megatron, it creates such a fantastical and long-range blast that...
it explodes in the atmosphere.
Yeah, it explodes in the air, and it is perfectly visible from the Predacon base. Yep. And Megatron is standing outside in beast form, and he's like, so, the Energon discharge virus actually worked. Yes.
Yeah, and Pterosaur is like, take it from me! I've got the toasted tail to prove it! And he waggles his, burnt to a crisp tail.
And Megatron's like, excellent, yes.
That was a very Looney Tunes moment, too.
Yeah, and Megatron is like, quickly, make more of that shit for all of the Maximals.
Yeah, he turns to Scorponok. I thought it was Tarantulas, but I guess not. And he turns to Scorponok, and he's like, prepare more of the virus immediately.
And he's like, yeah, Tarantulas hasn't come back, and Black Arachnia is like, I can't even access his files because he's encoded them. And Megatron gets all pissed and is all like, then find him, rah!
Yeah.
And some such shit. And back underground...
This is a good point, and I'm glad that they addressed that to cut away from that. They're like, oh, well, we don't know where he is, and we can't make more without him. And like Megatron being like, oh, fuck, we'll start with this lab and search everywhere. Like, oh, so they're actually acknowledging like how fucking shady and hard to find Tarantulas always is, finally.
Yeah.
Because what did it say? His files on his computer are encrypted.
Yeah. So yeah,
I want that virus.
Back underground, Dinobot and Rat Trap are dragging the unconscious body of Tarantulas. Which I don't really get why, because we know that Dinobot is one strong motherfucker. He could just be carrying him over his shoulder.
Or dragging him with one hand by himself.
Yeah. But yeah, they're dragging him. Each one has one of his legs, and
they basically say,
hilariously enough, one of Tarantulas' flashlight bugs is following them.
Yeah. Maybe they're programmed to help people work, and they follow you when you're walking down the tunnel and stuff.
Yeah.
They're programmed to just follow energy signatures. Because I noticed that too. I was like, oh, he's helping. Anyways, of course, those two start butting heads. And Dinobot kind of just throws Tarantulas' like body against the wall and like snarls, and Rat Trap says, "Well, no, we need him because we need to find the counter virus, or we need to get him to make one."
Yeah.
And Rat Trap kind of like, "Well, one of these caverns has got to lead to his lab."
Yeah, he's like, and his lab's got to be in one of these caves or something like that.
Yeah.
And Dinobot's like, I know nothing of the sort, for unlike you, I do not spend my time scurrying through sewers. And they just like keep bickering back and forth, and then during all of this, we see like Tarantulas.
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah. We see Tarantulas' like ocular visor thing like come back on. So dude's waking up.
When Tarantulas gets up when they're in the middle of their bickering, I like the way he says, "Die, Maximals!"
Yeah. And
He points his gun at them.
Yeah, he points his gun at them, and it goes to a point of view shot from his point of view. And Dinobot and Rat Trap hilariously in unison yell, "Shut up!" and both deck him in the face at the same time.
And he sees stars. Like actually like Looney Tunes, they're birds tweeting.
Yeah, I actually like paused like on the exact screen, and it's straight up like that like swirly pattern.
There's a swirling.
I'll share a screenshot of it with you.
Yeah, I'm on the I paused it as well.
Oh yeah.
And there's birds in the audio, like chirping birds as he like thuds to the ground.
And yeah, he's seeing like triple vision and yeah, very Looney Tunes.
Cool camera work in this episode. I'll give him that, because we actually like cut to like some science beakers like bubbling and stuff.
Yeah,
presumably Tarantulas' lab with all of his science.
And
got lots of science.
In the background, like behind this, like what looks like a still. Honestly, it kind of looks like a like distillery.
Oh yeah. These different colored liquids, but this pressure tank set up. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a still. So Tarantulas is making gin, confirmed.
Hey man, they got a lot of time to pass in between these episodes.
In the background on the wall behind it, though, is a like cutout photo of Megatron in beast form with like a bunch of darts thrown into it.
Oh, that's what that is. But like it's in an awkward place where you wouldn't play darts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an Easter egg. And in the foreground, we see Scorponok like angrily like looking at vials and like smashing beakers, just like fucking everything up.
Finds a severed arm of Waspinator.
Oh, yeah. What the fuck? Well, I get so that proves that you don't need all the parts of somebody to regenerate them.
Yeah, you can just make the CR chamber, just the hot tub heal machine, if you will, just makes new ones.
So you just need their head and their torso?
I guess, yeah.
Can you like regrow a whole Waspinator from a hand? I'm curious. I'm curious now. Like, can he heal that hand and make it a Waspinator? No, presumably they where their spark is in their torso. Presumably you need that and your head.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
because the head has their data tracks in it,
and the torso has their spark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as long as you have those, like, you're good. But I like that it addresses that, you know, like when these Transformers like get blown up into like a bunch of pieces, like their pieces don't just disappear.
No. Well, even in an earlier episode when the Maximals were raiding the Predacons base because they thought they like were all dead for some reason. The video feed they hooked up, right? They found like some Tarantulas legs.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Alas, poor Tarantulas. I knew him, Cheetor.
That was an interesting episode.
That was actually a pretty good episode until Super Ape at the end.
Oh right, that's why we didn't end up like that was a like too much Energon episode until the Super Ape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's arachnids scurrying around in Tarantula's base because Black Arachnia is there too. And unlike Scorponok, who's just like smashing shit, she's like picking beakers.
Like the scientist that he is.
Like the scientist he is. She's picking up beakers and vials and stuff, and she's like, interesting. And for some reason, a computer, like a monitor display that is being held up by an energy web, flickers to life and shows like a 3D wire map of the cave system.
Yeah. And we see like a couple of red beeping dots on it coming toward.
So presumably that is Tarantulas's like system automatically turning on to let him know when there are like intruders.
Yeah, like motion trackers.
Yeah. So we cut back to Dinobot and Rat Trap again, hauling tarantulas through the fucking caves with the flashlight bugs following them.
And Rat Trap says to Dinobot, "So you got a better idea?" And Dinobot growls and is like, "No." So he says some shit about like this being like inappropriate for a warrior like him, and
yeah, it lacks a warrior's nobility to be trudging through these tunnels like this.
Yeah. And Rat Trap's like, "Oh, don't you worry, I ain't letting nothing get you down here because I want to do that myself."
It's a pleasure I'm reserving for myself.
And
little shithead. That's funny. Hey, no one else can kill you because I'm going to. And Dinobot grabs a flashlight bug.
Yeah, and like holds it up to his face and is like, "Ooh, I appreciate your concern."
Like the spooky flashlight thing when you're telling spooky stories around the campfire.
And he's like, but let me assure you, being shot in the back by a malodorous mouse will not exactly earn me a spot in Silicone Valhalla.
10 out of 10 writing. Like, fucking amazing. Getting shot in the back
by a malodorous
mouse.
This was actually where, when I first saw this episode when I was a kid, this was actually how I learned the word malodorous.
Oh, I just learned it right now. But I really like how he says getting shot in the back wouldn't earn me a seat in Silicon Valhalla. And you know how I always go on about how he's like a Viking or a samurai?
Yep.
With a code. Well, there you go. He literally believes that in order for him to get to the afterlife, he has to die in valorous combat. So
Dinobot's always been one of my faves, I'm just saying. My inner Viking is has always connected with him.
Mm-hmm. Has there ever been in the Highlander series? Has there ever been any Viking immortals?
I don't think so. Actually, there really should be.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm sure they're not, but I'm gonna ask Christopher. He knows the subject well, and I couldn't recall any. You'd think there'd have to be,
because you know how much that
dying.
You know how much that would fuck up a Viking though, because like their dream is to die a glorious battle so they can earn a seat in the Golden Hall. But if
I never thought about that.
If
that
he
would
dies,
fuck up their belief.
Yeah, if he comes back as an immortal, he's gonna be like that's gonna really trouble him or her.
Yeah, and he'd like have answers like a tutor, right? He'd have some he'd need some explaining to figure out what the fuck Odin wants of him.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that would actually
that's a story.
That's a story
I want to see.
Waiting to be told.
That's why I was so surprised, and that's why I asked you. I was like, "Can you recall any. Also, you need to die in a violent death. We've actually talked about this before on
We have, yeah.
the podcast. You have to die a violent death, and you kind of need to, I guess, very rarely, some people have this like immortal like spark in them, right? But you need to die a violent death prematurely in order for it to like trigger. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you just live a
exactly.
normal life and you die from some other means, right?
Yeah.
The Vikings died prematurely and violently often. So if anything, you'd think a lot of the immortals would be Vikings.
Let's write it. Don't even have to like call it Highlander. We could just make it our own thing. The Immortal Viking.
We're doing it. This is happening.
Speaking of things happening, Black Arachnia was watching Dinobot and Rattrap bicker on one of Tarantulas's computer screens. And she's like, Black Arachnia to Megatron, I would suggest all Predacons report to Tarantulas's lab immediately. We're about to have company. Dun dun.
Yeah, and it's like, why didn't you tell them you found his lab already? I guess they just got there, right?
Yeah.
I like how she turns to the camera and like smirks.
So we're back at the Axelon, and air razors flying toward the base.
Good camera work. I've said this before during this episode, but like the camera work gives us the sense that we're almost seeing from like air razors' point of view, because
Right.
we're going through the air and we're kind of swaying left and right as if we're like riding on air currents.
Right.
And like the good mom she is, we cut to Air Razor, and she sees a laser shoot out of the Axelon after hearing like a loud sneeze that echoes through the canyons. And she's like, wow, now that's a wicked cold.
Yeah. And sorry, I need to send you another this is another Optimus face.
Oh geez. I love Optimus Faces.
I've posted it in the chat.
All right, in gorilla position, right?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus. Oh man, right? I think it was like episode 1 we did. I was like, maybe he's a gorilla, so that they could really benefit from giving him lots of different facial expressions. And time again, he gives us good Optimus faces. I've never seen this one before.
Not disappointed.
He's talking to 2 cats.
Yeah, he's like, we're gonna have to launch a full frontal assault on the base, on Megatron's base, to get the counter virus. And then Rhinox shows up and is all like, wait, I'm coming too. And they're all like, no, you wait here, you're too weak. Better convert to beast mode and eat something. It'll keep your energy up.
Oh, yeah. He says that to Rhinox, and I'm like, shouldn't he be plugged in? Like, is eating something like an adequate supply of energy?
I guess so.
I like this like moment between Optimus and Rhinox, because he like catches Rhinox.
Yeah.
And he's like talking all like softly to him, and his like face is like his head is bobbing. Almost looks like they're gonna kiss.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, okay, it's not just me. He's a good leader.
So yeah, Rhinox transforms, and Optimus is like, all right, guys, let's go, maximize. And they all leave, and dramatic rock music plays, and he super apes away.
He does.
And Rhinox starts chowing down on these vines.
Yeah, he watches them go, and he goes, and he starts specifically eating the beans, these giant like beans, and he goes, mmm.
Yep. Yep. He likes
Maybe
what
they're
he's
coffee
eating.
beans. Maybe they're like primordial coffee beans.
Maybe they're cocoa beans, and he's just getting coked out.
Well, it's something.
So we're back at the Tarantulas' base, and Black Arachnia is pressing some buttons, and she's like, aha, here it is. And like a thing comes out of the table, and a cylinder comes out of the table and opens up, and Megatron's like, the virus?
Yeah, so they're all just, the Predacons are all just there. Now, that has me confused. I thought that they had to go through the tunnels to get to this base. Does that mean there's multiple ways? Multiple tunnels? And like, he's got like tunnels that lead all over the place?
I would assume so, yeah.
How do you have the time to dig all this? Or they, you know what? The way that there's stalactites and stuff, I'm guessing he's just making use of like natural cave systems.
An existing cave system.
Yeah.
Plus, they've been on this planet for 22 weeks now, so
Fair. Yeah. So presumably, Black Arachnia like hacked his computer somehow.
Yeah. And Megatron's like, is it the virus? Yes. And she's all like, no, the counter virus. It's probably what they're after. I'll destroy it. She's gonna go She's gonna throw it on the ground. And
she's not afraid of the system.
Exactly. Megatron is apparently though, because he's all
I like how he yells, "No,
no!"
and he like lunges for it. Also, holy fuck, he is so much bigger than her.
Yeah.
Like I know it's the camera angle, but like he looks like 5 times the mass of Black Arachnia.
Well, considering the scale of the new Beast Wars figures from the War for Cybertron Kingdom line, it's about right. Yeah,
he's a big boy.
He's a leader class, and she's a deluxe class, so he's like 2.5 times taller than she is.
Oh, there's that much of a difference.
Yeah.
Wow. But basically Megatron is like,
he snatches
it, destroy it.
Yeah, he snatches it away from her, and he's like, a bargaining chip should remain in play until the game is over. Yes. And
he's got a good point.
He does, and what follows is actually one of my favorite interactions in this entire series, and I forgot that it was in this episode.
I forgot too, because you had mentioned it multiple times, and you were like, "Oh, in one episode, somebody asks him." And right now, because what did Megatron say that prompted Black Arachnia? A bargaining chip should
remain in play until the game is over. Yes,
and she says to him, "Why do you always talk to yourself?"
And he responds, "Oh, I simply have a penchant for intelligent conversation." It is one of my favorite interactions in this entire series.
Because she doesn't really have a much of a filter as the others do. She kind of just says what she wants. And I find that funny. He turns his back on her before saying that.
Yeah.
And the way he says it too, like angrily. And he's got a good point. I just slurped like Cal from undergrads. Oh, Megatron's my favorite best buddy guy.
Oh man. Also, I feel like Black Arachnia asking him that might, like, in a way, it almost feels like something like the audience might be wondering too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Answering one of the audience's questions.
So an alarm goes off, and Scorponok's like, "Here they come," because he sees on the computer, like the radar
thing,
that a bunch of energy signatures are coming toward them. And so
they just blind fire through one of the tunnels.
So the three flyers all look at each other and then look at the tunnel and raise their guns and just start unloading
Basically,
at nothing.
nothing, and Megatron actually like face palms and says, "Hold your fire, you fools! Wait for the target." As if he's training like boot camp.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to be soldiers. One's actually a soldier ant. Like literally.
Yeah. And so Dinobot and Rat Trap are like around the corner, and Dinobot,
And they see it.
they see it, and then Dinobot is like grabs Tarantulas by the head and is like, "Cover me, vermin." And he goes around the corner, and Rat Trap goes to cover him, but then sees a pipe, and it's all like, And then, hilariously, Dinobot marches out holding tarantulas, and is like a puppet, and he's like, "Do not fire, Megatron! I have a hostage!" And holds up Tarantula.
Tarantulas' body, just limp body, is just hanging from one of his hands.
And Megatron's like, indeed you do. And it just like blasts a laser at tarantulas and blows him into pieces.
Well, at least he wasn't conscious for that. Or Tarantulas. You know what? I feel like Tarantulas did everything right, and he's not reaping any of the benefits this episode.
Oh man.
Also, what the fuck was Dinobot thinking?
Megatron is like, "Now, are there any other stupid maximal ploys you wish to try?" Oh my god. I forgot how funny this episode is.
So you had dreaded this. You had talked about it like it was like your bane, and I have to tell you, there's a lot that saves the episode. And the Energon farts aren't as terrible as I was expecting.
Oh.
So Dinobot kind of looks up in shock as he's surrounded by literally all the Predacons. Well, I mean, except Tarantulas. Who's in chunks back in the tunnel. And Rat Trap kicks down a grate, because I guess he wasn't covering Dinobot. He kicks down a grate. I'm not sure what for. Some sort of grate tunnel system. And he lands behind the Pred heads.
Some kind of pipe. Ventilation system, maybe.
Yeah, he lands behind them and he gets the drop. But he gets the drop on like 5 of them. Like 6 of them. Like, okay. And he's like, "Well, how's this scale, Belly?"
And he shoots all of their guns and hands themselves right out of their hands.
Their hands?
Yeah, he blows
Scorponok's
hand right off.
Oh. And Megatron's just standing there angrily. Oh, he is a master marksman.
Yep.
Go Rat Trap. Man, he's so amused with himself. Rat Trap like stops to like laugh and slap his knee as he's laughing. He's like, "Gotcha."
And we start hearing
the beginnings of a sneeze.
And Megatron's all like, "What?"
So Rhinox sneezes and he blows a hole through the side of the cavern, presumably from another tunnel, into the lab, and Scorponok looks around and he's in the debris. He's in the way of the debris in the blast, and he screams like only Scorponok does. Like his death scream that he does actually very frequently.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Ah!" It's off screen.
Yeah.
All of the this is very Conan the Barbarian. What the fuck?
Yeah, I was going to bring this up. So we get a money shot of the Maximals all standing there posing, and for some reason, like Optimus is standing there, like chest out with his hands on his fists on his hips, and Airazor, for whatever reason, is like kneeling on the ground, like holding his leg.
That is some like 70s like sci-fi romance novel, Conan the Barbarian, Boris Vallejo. Do you know what I mean? Like fantasy art shit.
Yeah, and I'm just like, why?
Why?
Like, I don't
Part of
get
me
that.
also look at his fucking legs. Wow, go Optimus.
He doesn't skip leg day,
Absolutely
which is
not.
impressive since
he can fly.
Because he can fly.
Holy shit, he doesn't skip leg day. Like they're all heroic, and she's in this like damsel position. Now, I really like that kind of like reference. Like I said, like Boris Vallejo, like 70s, 80s, like fantasy kind of thing. Like Conan, holding like a sword, and like, some wench like kneeling down like at his feet.
Yeah.
But Airazor's badass.
I was gonna say, like,
she's
I don't
not
get
fucking Optimus.
Yeah.
So what's going on here?
I don't get that vibe from her. Like it's not her character at all.
I mean, I like her silhouette here, right? And
Yeah.
it gets all of them in shot, but like, shouldn't Cheetor be on his other leg? I feel like it's sexist to just have Airazor there, and a good counter to that would have been if Cheetor was on the other side. I think she's too cool for this.
And like
I don't like it.
and like Rhinox is like behind him with like his arms around his waist.
The whole thing is just like everyone being like a damsel. Rhinox behind
him. So basically everyone's fucking Optimus.
And Tigatron is like lounging with like an arm draped over his head.
Tigatron is in beast form doing that like that like arced back pose that he did in Trigger Part 2.
Yeah. And in a lot of like Boris Vallejo, like what's the other artists? I used to be a huge fan of like that kind of art style. Conan, there's often like a tiger or something like in the foreground or background, like on a leash or something.
Yeah. I mean, look at He-Man. He-Man rode a tiger.
There you go. Yeah.
Battle Cat.
I'm not sure. Like, I was gonna say it's a different time, but like this is late 90s. Like, why is she?
Yeah, this episode was on in 1997. Like,
what? I think it's cool, but like I don't like that. You know what I mean?
I could see Black Arachnia doing that.
Oh, that's a very like black. Even though she's like dominant, she's also sexual.
Yeah.
So I could see Black Arachnia totally doing that. Just because Black Arachnia also feigns weakness, right, to get people to lower their guard.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but
we've seen her try and use it on Tarantulas before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's tried to manipulate Starscream too.
Yeah.
Huh. Actually, I am going to send you an image of kind of what I mean here, if I can find it. But we'll continue talking, and I'll send it to you. But yeah, so like weird pose. That's a good thumbnail for the episode. But so is Optimus smirking.
I actually already made the episode art.
Oh right, you did.
Episode. Yeah, I sent it to you on Facebook.
Oh,
it also has a great Optimus face in it.
Oh, good. I like Optimus faces.
So Optimus is like, nobody move. we're here to save the day. And then Rat Trap like walks, like shows up between Megatron's legs and is all like, "Hey, Scrape Ape, we've already I see the show, but we've already been here and done that, you know."
What the? Weird. That's a good point. Anyways, I'm fine with it. I just. It's a very cramped moment. I love. Oh, I just noticed that the music, because it's all like battle music, dun 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 dun, because Optimus like shows up like Captain America, right?
Right.
And the music goes like like it's slowly like coming to a stop when Rat Trap did that. I just noticed that.
So Megatron is all like, "I still have the counter-virus, bitches. Cheer." I like how we went to the same place.
He does. He has all the cards. I still have the counter-virus, bitch.
So, unless you convert to beast mode immediately, your friend will soon go offline. Permanently.
I just sent you another screenshot from this episode. There's
gorilla.
Optimus, see? There's Air Razor. There's Megatron on the left. Or Dinobot, because he has a sword. Oh, except in that one, like, she wants to fight the ape.
It's very heavy metal magazine.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of heavy metal magazine. And,
I read it quite a bit when I was a teenager.
I still have tons of the magazines, but yeah, I read it a lot when I was a older teen. And
so Rhinox is like, "No, don't do it, boss." And Optimus is like, "But we have no choice, beast mode."
Yeah, because Megatron demands that they go into beast mode, otherwise he's gonna presumably like smash the counter virus.
Yeah. So they all transform, and Dinobot's like, "There are times I would prefer to be a Predacon."
We know.
And
they're all in their beast modes.
So Megatron says to Black Arachne is like, "See, a bargaining chip is useful. Yes, I was right."
Remember when I wanted to keep this?
Yeah, basically. It's like he's rubbing it in her face.
Rubbing it in her face, but I also feel like maybe you shouldn't be teaching Black Arachne. How to that she's unchecked. She can be multiple times the Starscream episode and I don't know, did we just completely forget that she was in control of like a crazy ancient alien like super weapon? No, we just forgot that happened.
Yeah, that was only a couple of months ago, guys.
Now, were they unaware that she was in control of it? That's what I wonder. They must be, right? Otherwise, I mean, like Megatron would have presumably like some pretty fucking serious questions.
She betrayed Scorponok in that episode, so
yeah.
So,
but she's just chilling now.
Yep.
I mean, it's an episodic TV show for kids. What do we want? But I mean, it's a pretty big power move she made. I'm just saying.
There are no consequences in the Beast Wars.
No.
So yeah, Rhinox's stomach starts rumbling, and Optimus is like, "What's wrong?" And he's all like, "Wild bean vines, hard to digest." Ugh. And so he gets up and starts turning around, and Megatron's like,
slowly,
"Do not turn your back on me, Maximal scum."
Right?
And
Rhinox
he keeps turning. We see
then he lifts his tail up.
We see his butt, and like in one shot that I actually made the show art for this episode, like you can see that he's prairie dogging.
Ugh. You see his like rhino anus.
Yep.
All the faces of the Maximals. because he briefly turns towards them and they look horrified. And then Rhinox settles his giant booty in the direction.
Optimus's eyes bug out.
I just noticed that. I need to go back and capture that. He settles his giant rump and pointing straight towards Megatron, and all the other Predacons like awkwardly inch away from him.
And
this is the best line of the show, probably. Go ahead.
And Rhinox like lifts his tail up, and the camera zooms toward Megatron's face, and he's like, "What? Oh no, not that! Ah!" I'm gonna put audio of it in the. I'm gonna edit audio of that into the episode. So
that's great. I like how he's like, "No, not that!" Like he knows impending doom is coming.
Yeah, so we see a shot of the like upper atmosphere of the planet and like an Energon explosion,
like a giant fart sound, and like part of the atmosphere is blasted into space.
Yeah,
like a Dragon Ball Z energy blast. Wow, amazing. And it actually sends like atmospheric ripples across the planet. like a nuclear bomb. And speaking of nuke, the camera cuts back to Optimus's face. The camera cuts back and the cave is like completely blown away and the surface is exposed. So sunlight is like coming through. And all of Tarantulas' lab and all, like literally every single one of the Predacons are gone. they've been blown away.
Yeah. And Optimus is like, "Let's get out of here," as he's like fanning his
struggling to breathe.
Yeah.
And Rat Trap is like, "Not without the counter virus." And for some reason, that's just fine.
Yeah. So he grabs it, and we cut back to the maximal base, and Rhinox is like drinking it like a beer hat. He's wearing it like a beer hat on his head with like tubes going into his mouth.
It's literally like a beer hat you wear at a baseball game.
Which I kind of appreciate, because like we've painted Rhinox as this like beer drinking trucker for the past like few months now.
Yeah, I'm feeling fine. Back to normal self.
I could drink 6 more of these. Still get up and go to work tomorrow like it ain't no thing.
I do every other day. And Rat Trap's wearing like a construction hat. I kind of like it. And he's presumably repairing parts of the ship that Rhinox had blown out.
Yeah.
He's like, a little welding, a little paint, and the joint will look like home again.
And Dinobot's like, "That's because you're used to living in rat holes."
The dialogue on this episode is solid, despite the fact it's based around a rhino farting.
Yeah.
The dialogue is really good.
So Rhinox seems like he's going to sneeze again, as Cheetor and Optimus are putting the dinner table back together, and everyone looks horrified.
Yeah, you know that multi-tool that he was like scanning Rhinox with earlier, Optimus?
Yeah.
Rat Trap was using that to like make repairs on the ship just now. See what I mean by multi-tool? They've used that prop for like everything.
It's made by the Swiss Army Company of Cybertron.
Oh yeah, they'd probably make a ton of money.
So Rhinox sneezes 3 times over, but it's not an Energon sneeze. All he does is fall out of his chair, and everyone laughs, and hooray, things are back to normal. And then we cut to Megatron, who is all like, "This, most certainly, is the most humiliating defeat of my entire career. Yes." And the camera pans out and then turns around, and we see that for some reason they're on a tree.
Did they all land there? So what this is suggest? I love the way he says, like he delivers that line you just did.
Yeah.
Like it's so like it's like he's angry and disgusted when he says it.
Yeah.
And ashamed.
Yeah, ashamed and like disappointed in himself. So yeah, he's like hanging over
They're in the
with his back
wasteland,
over a tree, and like Black Arachnia is like hanging in a
Ass up,
branch,
yeah.
and Waspinator is on a branch, Scorponok and Inferno are just on the ground. Waspinator
And-
falls out of the tree.
In Looney Tunes fashion, there's a no sound as he bounces off and falls down, presumably a cliff, and we kind of like circle wipe to the credits.
Which is also a very Looney Tunes thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, yeah, that was the 22nd episode of Beast Wars, The Low Road. On the here on Too Much Energon, we rate episodes on the Too Much Energon scale, which ranges from not enough Energon to sufficient Energon to too much Energon. Cal, what are you going to rank this episode?
So you had built this up a lot, and I was like, oh, I don't remember that. I must have blocked it. And you're like, oh god, the fart one is coming, and I'm gonna save an especially low one for that.
Right. I was like, oh, it's gonna be no Energon from me.
Yeah, like no Energon. Zero Energon. And watching this, and like there's so much good dialogue, and the episode's self-aware. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
for example, like all the corny jokes and like them looking at the camera and like Dinobot holding Tarantulas and being like, I have a hostage. Like all of the lines are delivered so well, and the plot actually moves at enough of a pace that the bickering between Dinobot and Rat Trap doesn't even. Usually, I would hate that, but it doesn't get old. It progresses the plot.
Yeah.
I actually think this is too much Energon. I really liked this one. I'm amazed. But
I'm glad you said that.
Too much Energon.
I'm giving it a low too much Energon. I can't believe I'm actually doing it, but I'm giving it a low too much Energon. And I'm knocking points off of it just because I feel like the Looney Tunes, an entire episode of Looney Tunes Mayhem is a little too tonally inconsistent with the rest of the show. So I'm knocking I'm knocking points for that. But this episode has funny lines. And this episode's hilarious.
It's one of the funniest, and but not because of the farts.
No. And like the farting and burping and sneezing is played for laughs, but like weirdly enough, like they still managed to actually make like I hate fart jokes. They actually managed to make a fart joke funny.
Somehow, I'm amazed. I hate fart jokes too.
Yeah, and like with Megatron's reaction alone, like they actually made that fart joke funny. So.
Yeah. No, not that. And the funny thing is, it's not like we love every episode. Like one of our favorite, most memorable episodes, we completely like were ripped out of the episode and ended up rating it low because like there was like an absolute shameless and like tone deaf and like misuse of like a super ape moment.
Yeah.
Like it didn't make sense. It saved the day. Everything looked really bleak up to that point, but then suddenly Optimus, who had just like almost died, like saved the ship. We talked about it on that
as like
episode.
fakes, even as like fake Superman music plays.
Yeah, like tone off, like slightly off tone, like Superman music plays. And that the way that ended felt really cheap. I'm even fine with Super Ape, but like make it fitting. Like, anyways, wrong episode. This one is the low road, and amazingly, it's good.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised because I'd been dreading this episode for a long time.
You have, and here we are.
Fortunately, we from here on out we have some pretty damn good episodes coming up.
Nice.
So we're looking forward to that one. Best way to support the show is if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, be sure to leave us a 5-star rating because that helps us out with discoverability. Check out our website, toomuchenergon.ca, where you can find embedded players of every episode of this show. Social media links to the Facebook page, facebook.com/toomuchenergon, a link to my Instagram, a clickable link to send us an email, which you can do by emailing us at toomuchenergon@outlook.com. We will be back next week with the 23rd episode of Beast Wars, Law of the Jungle, which I haven't seen in a very long time, but it's a Tigatron centric episode, and I remember.
Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah,
I remember this actually being a pretty heavy episode, so it'll be a nice follow up to this insanity that we just watched. Also, if you're listening to this on YouTube, check out our main podcast feed through Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever, because not only do we have these episodes, we also have bonus content. We have outtakes almost every week, where we kind of just talk about whatever we feel like talking about at that given time, and we also have some other bonuses. Like we did a commentary track for the 1986 film Transformers the movie.
Yeah.
And we'll probably be doing more of that sort of thing in the future, so stay tuned for that. Also, if you want to listen to even more of us every week, we also have another podcast called Alpha Numeric, where it's like this, but the two of us and another friend of ours, also do this, but
for Reboot,
another 1990s mainframe entertainment cartoon.
You would think that, wow, yeah, I love Reboot. That one's going to be much better. It's interesting. We have we're scrutinous of it.
Very.
You think we complain about Beast Wars?
Yeah, I would argue that the worst episode of Beast Wars is still better than a bad episode of Reboot.
Yes, I don't know why. I have my theories, but we can get into that on. It's true though. Like a bad episode of, like like you said, the worst episode from Beast Wars is still like better than the like mediocre episodes of Reboot.
Yeah. And we'll maybe talk about that on another episode of this show or that other podcast. It's called Alpha Numeric. Look it up. We're running out of time, so we're going to get out of here. I have been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I am your other host, NeoCal.
And until next week, Beast Mode.
Beast Mode.
Beast Mode!